Well, our question, it all starts with what's the success story behind this brand?
Everybody knows Kobi Karp, but we want to know where Kobi Karp started.
Kobi Karp started, number one, good morning, thank you for having me. Kobi Karp started basically in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where I went to sixth grade, junior high, high school, university, graduated from MIT, Minnesota Institute of Technology, and there I got my degree in architecture and environmental design. Actually, the first degree was environmental design, and that's what set me into the track. Regretfully, work was kind of slow in the Midwest because what happened you're probably familiar, in the 80s, many companies were leaving the Midwest and going elsewhere. And although it's rich with Cargill, Honeywell, IBM, Archer Daniels Midland, a lot of big companies, there was not much work for architects. So
How did you end up because your family's not originally from Minneapolis, I'm assuming.
Israel. I was born in Israel.
Does not come from Minneapolis.
Comes from the beach in Miami.
So you weren't just popped out on the beach. You started in Minneapolis, but you
Yes.
came from Israel originally. So how did your family...
So I was born in 1962 in Israel, in a town called Netanya, which is between Haifa and Tel Aviv on the Mediterranean. It's a resort town, and it's been there, and that's where I was born. And in 1974, my folks moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and so they went from the Mideast to the Midwest, which was a nice transformation. And it was really, really, really nice to grow up in Minneapolis, the Midwest, which is very, very American and very wholesome.
Right. And a lot of my work was in the Midwest, in Milwaukee and Chicago. Naturally, most people from that area go to Chicago as being the center
Yes.
of gravity. So what made you decide to move your entire life and come to Miami?
Good question.
The Magic City.
Well, he really nails the questions today. What happened is that I finished my degree, and I worked in construction and landscaping and architectural offices building models. So I had enough hours to sit down and take the registration exam. So I took the registration exam when I was 25, graduated when I was 24, took the exam when I was 25, and passed it. There was a Miami Herald that my folks sent me, which was an architectural and English firm on Lincoln Road at the Sterling Building, 925 Lincoln Road. And they were there basically servicing the Caribbean. They were building and designing hotels and resorts in the Caribbean, St. Lucia, Grenada, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, Jamaica. So that's where we received our start. They offered me a job in Miami, which was Miami Vice and Scarface days, a little bit different than it is today.
Tell people about that, right? Because everybody knows Miami now because of after COVID, Miami became this thing. But what was Miami like during those days?
Miami is completely different. 1988, you have to think the population, when people graduate from high school or from college, they want to leave because the economy was bad, the environment was bad, there was a lot of crime. It was known, well, that's why people did movies like Scarface and Miami Vice based on real life stories. And so coming here to Miami Beach specifically, which was beautiful and empty, and you had beautiful tropical sunsets and looking at all these beautiful historic buildings, it was very dramatic, and it was very empty. It was very derelict. And you had a bunch of old folks on a fixed income, on rocking chairs, on Ocean Drive, basically, on their fixed income retirement. So it was a completely different vibe. It changed a lot. The Miami of today, the Fort Lauderdale today, the Palm Beach of today is all full of young people. And that was not the case back then. We came here not to work in Miami because there was no funding, there was no bank loans. It was all criminal money. Cash would build the buildings. But we built all-inclusive resorts and hotels in the Caribbean, Club Med, super clubs. That's what we did.
So even though you came to Miami for work, it wasn't that your work was in Miami. It was just for people that were more of the vacationers.
True.
And So that's interesting. And
We
then,
serviced the Caribbean from Miami, had American Airline that would fly us to Puerto Rico and then to the various islands, Mustique, St. Lucia, Grenada, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas.
so this is an interesting question for me because I love design and I love building things. For all the young architects that are out there, for everyone that's listening that want to follow your footsteps, what would you tell them in the sense of when you were born or you decided to get into architecture? Did you have a creative mind? Are you gifted in a certain way? Can you see things that others can't? What gave you that edge, or what made you think I could be super successful in this? Because there's a lot of people that, they're great hard workers. They could put pen to paper and draft things, and there's visionaries. What would you say your gift was?
You need to be a hard worker. I am successful because I did come to Miami, and I do work from 5 to 9, not 9 to 5. And my mentality is that I find solutions for people, developers, owners, anybody who's in real estate to make money. Over the years, I have created value in a thoughtful, environmental, sustainable fashion for developers and owners of hotels and condos, affordable housing, workforce housing, throughout our projects on an ongoing basis. It's what I can do for others that makes the difference. It is not what I can do for myself or my vision or my design or my idea. It's not like that. I'll give you an example. Somebody calls me up because you're in the restaurant hospitality business and says, Kobi, we took over this restaurant. It's in Miami Beach, and it's been operating for many years, yet this restaurant has failed through multiple names and operators. And because before I started architecture, while I was studying architecture, there was no work to work in architects' offices. I worked as the front desk of a hotel. I worked in the bar back of El Torito's restaurants. I worked.
El Torito's actually really good.
It was good.
It was
right?
really good. El Torito.
And I worked in Target, T2, store number 2, stocking for Christmas, the toys, whereby the lady who ran back then the TVs and the cameras department saw me. She said, you look like a hard worker. When you're done with the Christmas job, you can come and work by me. And then we work on commissions as well, selling records and tapes, and it was good. And that's what motivated me to understand what I can do for other people.